Fantasy football is back. Welcome back to another episode of Sports Runs and Diesel. We're going to be starting off with the quarterbacks in fantasy football. All of this is based off of a 10-team PPR league. If some of you guys are wondering the question, what does PPR mean? Points per reception. Every time they catch a football, it is a point. Josh Allen is number one on this list, in my personal opinion. Sixth in QBR last year at over 60. But we're talking about over 4,000 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. The guy rushed for over 750 yards, 6 touchdowns. He averaged 6.3 yards a rush. This guy is clearly number one on the list. Obviously, we know Patrick Mahomes is also on this list as well. We all know that he has lost Tyreek Hill. Will we see a decrease in his numbers? A little bit. He's not going to pass for 4,800 yards like he did last season. His completion percentage is up there with the best. 2 out of every 3 passes is completed. 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Top 5 in QBR last year at 62.2. I do believe Patrick Mahomes will be a top 5 quarterback this year in fantasy football. Now, granted, I have him at number 3, but he's really my number 1. I've had him the last 2 seasons, and he has been absolutely phenomenal. Justin Herbert. I starred this kid because, yes, he's going into his 3rd season, but he has been fantastic his first 2 seasons here in the NFL. Last year, 5,000 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Second in QBR at 65.6. This guy, without a doubt, should be the number 1 guy you should go after. Now, granted, I do not recommend you pick a quarterback within the first 5 rounds of the fantasy football draft. I do not recommend that because you're wasting a pick that could be a really good wide receiver, good running back. I recommend your first 2 picks should be 2 running backs, and then you go to wide receivers. After that, your first 4 picks should be running backs and wide receivers or a tight end over picking a quarterback. Quarterback should not be picked until round 5, round 6. But some people get a little anxious and they pick a quarterback early, and that makes everyone pick quarterbacks early. My recommendation, do not pick a quarterback early. I mean, outside of these 3 guys here, there are other quarterbacks who I recommend you go after. Like, no one's going to think about Derek Carr. I have Derek Carr as a top 10 fantasy quarterback this year based off what he did last year with all the antics and all the distractions that happened with the Las Vegas Raiders organization with John Gruden and then Henry Ruggs and the whole car accident issue there. Derek Carr still almost threw for 5,000 yards last year. So Derek Carr is definitely on my list. Joe Burrow, you can't forget him and the talent he's got. Remember, he's got Jamar Chase. I have Lamar Jackson on this list. I was very close to putting him not as a quarterback to go after, but due to his incredible rushing ability, his evasiveness as a quarterback, you have to put him in the conversation as a quarterback that you should go after in fantasy football just based off his rushing ability and him being evasive and prolonging plays. The one thing Lamar Jackson must work on, and we must see an improvement on with Lamar Jackson, is his accuracy down the field. He's got to be a better accurate thrower down the field, which is something he has not proven in his first 3 or 4 seasons here in the NFL. I hope he proves some of the naysayers wrong, like myself, but he's only in the must-haves because of his running ability. Kyler Murray's also in that list, but Kyler Murray's deep ball accuracy is obviously better than Lamar Jackson's. We know what he has at the wide receiver spot with Hopkins and company. Kyler Murray, really good quarterback to go after. Tom Brady, another one. We know what he has. Leonard Fournette, running back position. All these guys. I know he did lose Rob Gronkowski in the tight end spot. Remember, Tom Brady should be up there on this list as a top 10 quarterback. And then Jalen Hurts, a guy, another dual threat quarterback who had a great first season. I had him as my backup QB last year. And there were some weeks he was doing better than Justin Herbert. So it's all about matchups. Who's got the more favorable matchup week in and week out. But Those are my quarterbacks that you should be going after when the time is right. I know someone's going to pick a quarterback early. There's always some knucklehead that picks quarterback early, and then everyone follows him. Going from the must-haves to the quarterbacks you should try and steer away from, Matt Ryan is also on this list as well. Last year was probably one of his worst seasons. 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions last year. Now, granted, Matt Ryan is on a completely different team now. He is on the Indianapolis Colts, who have a great defense. But offensively, there has been some moments, and I know last year they had Carson Wentz, who was clearly not the quarterback. He did not throw for 4,000 passing yards last year, which is the first time he has done that since 2010. We know the talent he had in Atlanta. Now it's time for him to move on. He's in Indianapolis. His QBR was the lowest of his career. Believe it or not, Matt Ryan's QBR last year was 46.1. He hasn't had a season under 59 QBR. Not a single season under 59 QBR until last year. And don't wait too late to pick a quarterback. If you start seeing others picking quarterbacks, you need to pick a quarterback because all the good ones will fly away real fast. The ones that I said earlier, they'll fly away so fast, it's not even funny. Up next on a quarterback you should not go after is Tua Tagovailoa. Last year, only 16 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last year. Not the best. Okay, Tua Tagovailoa's got a lot of upside to him. He's been injury prone. He's only played 23 games in his first 2 seasons here in the NFL. For him to be worth it, he needs to play more than 13 games in regular season. We have 17 games in regular season now. So it's like I need to see him play 14, 15 games here in the regular season in order for me to tell you he's worth it to grab. Because now he's got improvement at the wide receiver spot. Even though they did lose Devontae Parker to the New England Patriots, they did grab Tyreek Hill, which is a huge bonus for Tua Tagovailoa. They have good tight ends. Gesicki's been really good for them over the years. But I need to see more for Tua Tagovailoa. He's been injury prone. Like I said, I expect with Tua Tagovailoa this year, I expect improvements in the passing yard, rushing yard categories, and passing and rushing touchdown categories for Tua Tagovailoa. But most importantly, he's got to stay healthy in order for those numbers to improve. He only threw for 2,600 yards last year. This year, he will probably throw for 3,000, 3,500 yards this year, maybe close to 4,000, depending on how well he connects with Tyreek Hill and the other wide receivers and tight ends. We will see how that plays out. But Tua, not a guy you want to go after this year. Carson Wentz, Jared Goff is on this list. I mean, come on. No offense, Jared Goff. Jared Goff had his moment in the sun in LA, and they lost in the Super Bowl in 2018 to the New England Patriots. And then Ryan Tannehill. So clearly Ryan Tannehill is telling you, I'm not a leader, And for me, Tannehill, don't even think about going after Ryan Tannehill either. Unless you're in a 14, 16 team league, then you got no choice and you got to have to pick somebody. But there are plenty of other choices. But that is all I have for you guys. Thank you guys again so much for your time. If you guys haven't already, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned. Running backs are coming up very shortly here. I hope to see all your faces in the next one. Deuces.